Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where we're about to explore the top 4 what-if moments in NFL history that could have changed the game as we know it.
Get ready to journey through the alternate NFL realities where one decision, one play, or one twist of fate could have rewritten history.
From injury-plagued careers to game-altering decisions, our list is a tribute to the what-if moments that keep us wondering.
This countdown isn't just about plays. It's a deep dive into the butterfly effect of NFL decisions and events.
Buckle up for this roller coaster of hypotheticals. Subscribe to our channel and prepare to explore the alternate NFL universes that define the top 4 what-ifs in history.
Get ready, because the Rushmore Show starts right now. The Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more. Andy, what if we ended our month today? That's what we're going to do today. We are going to do what ifs of NFL football. Wow. And man, what a great story that is. What if we tell them all about what we've done this month?
Hey, man, it's been NFL. It's been Are You Ready for Some Rushmore all month? Pigskins and presidents.
Let's go.
It's been a fun time, man. So we've talked about our we did fantasy football players. We did running backs. We did 1-year wonders, and we are wrapping it up today talking about the biggest what ifs. This is one of the most fun topics, I think, just to talk about with your buddies. Like, as a fan of NFL, what if this happened?
Fan of sports in general.
What if this didn't happen? What if this player turned out to be better than what they did? Like, hypotheticals. Because here's the thing. None of this can be wrong today. We can disagree.
So like, what if your team drafted this person instead of this person? What if this person signed with that team or that? What if that person didn't get hurt? What if that play didn't happen? What if that team won the championship? What if that team lost the championship? Like, what if? Dude, what it kind of goes back to me thinking was the Marvel What If on Disney Plus, and how they just rearranged the whole scheme and really just changed it, if all the guys we actually knew, into what ended up being the most ultimate character known to Marvel, right? And if you haven't seen it, we're going to try and design the most ultimate situation in NFL history. So I think it's a great topic. It's very subjective, and we're going to have a lot of banter probably going back and forth, except we might agree quite a bit because we're all from kind of the same area, so we probably want to see those kind of go the same way. Well, I think it's time that we get ready to bring on our guest to the show and get started with our what ifs in NFL history. Let's get it. Rushmore Show, this is the ultimate question. What if your team blank? And it's time to give our top 4. And we have brought on a great guest. He's been here one time. This is going to be his second time. And he's here not only just to promote our show, but to promote his new show. Everybody, please clap your hands for our friend, PJ Dunn. Welcome back to the show, PJ.
Oh, man.
What's up, everybody? What's up? Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me again, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. Glad I could
PJ,
jump in.
I know you're a wrestling aficionado, What do you know about football? The foosball.
I mean, football is something that I've loved my whole life. I played football for like 5 or 6 years. I played 4 years in high school. I played some semi pro ball after that. Unfortunately I had 4 or 5 Division I scholarships that I blew because I couldn't keep my grades up. So football was a very big part of my life for a long period of time. I still love watching it. And my family loves watching it. It's a big part of our weekends. So
all right, so help me out
in this house.
Help me out. So Andy is a Roll Tide and Who Dat. I am Go Tigers all the way, and I am the Red Kingdom for the Chiefs and a Who Dat for the Saints. Those are my teams. Where does your fandom lie if you were to call a college and a NFL team?
The college one's hard. I love college football. It's my favorite thing. I have 2 SEC teams that I follow unless they play each other. I like the Gators because that's where I'm from. I'm from that area, probably 45 minutes from Gainesville is where I grew up. And I've always loved LSU. I've always had a thing for LSU, even as a Gator fan. Like, unless they're playing each other, I'm rooting for them both. I also root for my alma mater. SAGU has a great college football team. NFL, same thing. There's certain teams I don't like, but my go-to team, again, backyard where I grew up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've been a Bucks fan. I've been a Bucks fan as long as I can remember. I mean, they're my team. Even when they're bad, they're still my team, you know?
I get that, I guess. But look, let's shift gears a little bit. Kirk had mentioned your show. So at the day of filming right now, this is our second time chatting today because this morning I got the pleasure of being on your show. But let the Summit Squad know what is it you're doing. You're on YouTube, you're on Spotify now. How can they find you?
So you could check me out on YouTube. It's called The Reformationist Podcast. Man, I'm doing a weekly devotional, just really getting back to the basics of what the Bible actually says. You know, no eisegesis, no crazy stuff, just exegetical devotional time. And I'm going to do a monthly special on that same channel called Coffee with Pastors, where the idea is to bring in pastor friends of mine who have been in ministry for quite some time to talk about the things that they don't teach you in Bible college. You know, hey, learn how to cook a good meal, learn how to make a good cup of coffee, learn how to change a light bulb and fix a toilet, like do some drywall, you know, all the things you're not going to, they teach you how to preach and maybe do a little bit of counseling. Other than that, you got to learn it all on your own. So my goal is to put a podcast out there for people in ministry to really hear that, hey, other people are going through this too. And for people wanting to get into ministry to say, hey, these are some things you really need to look forward to. And, you know, as much as we might complain about them, we love doing them because it's part of who we are.
Absolutely. Fantastic topic. So I'm going to come on your show in a couple days, maybe for the week down the road. Andy's been on, and I got some great topics I can even think of. But Andy, what topic did you do today?
So we talked about just some things about like sermon prep, how preaching and sermon prep is really just a tiny little portion of what you do as a whole, as a pastor in full-time ministry. So, and we had a lot of other off-the-wall topics too that we chatted about, but it's
dude,
fun.
I love that. I'm going to jump in, I think, with him and do family time and making that sacred. So, and like keeping that, you know, I do my family, man. So, but it's going to be awesome. But let's jump into our show today. Now, look, PJ, you've been on the show before. We got 3-minute timers. We're going to 3-minute, but we might go over a little bit because we need some discussion. We might actually go under because we hit the same one over and over again. But you're going to go first. Tell me what you were thinking when you were building your list. And it's a short list because you just got word you were on the show today. So you probably, much like myself, was working all the way up until filming, trying to seal the deal. But what were you thinking? And then let's get this show on the road.
So my thought process was, as a Buccaneers fan, what are the top what-ifs for the Buccaneers? Because historically, the Buccaneers have been a losing franchise. Our lifetime win percentage is under 500. It's like 4 and change, somewhere in the 440, 450 range, I think, last I saw. We've won 2 Super Bowls, but and we've been in 2 Super Bowls, so we're 100%. We're 2 for 2 in a Super Bowl. But what are the what ifs in Buccaneer history? And man, there's some doozies that a lot of them happened way back before probably most of us were around and even knew what football was. I know most of mine started the year I was born, and then a few years after that. Those are on my list, but I doubt any of you will have any of these on your list. But I know my Benjamins. I'm probably going to have to cross those off as you go through those, because
there's potential, but let's just keep moving.
All right, my Rosie was the 1987 NFL Draft, Vinny Testaverde. They drafted Vinny Testaverde to replace another person I'm not going to name because that's another one on my list. And he did horribly. He played for 2 or 3 seasons. He threw way more, like three times more interceptions than he did touchdowns. And he went on to be an NFL journeyman. And he had some success at other teams, but for the most part, he was passed around almost like Ryan Fitzpatrick in our era. But just if some of that success that he had, like when he went to the Jets, he took the Jets pretty far. If we could have had a little bit of that in Tampa Bay, who knows what could have happened?
Yeah. So looking it up again, I'm going to have to do some not fact checking, but for my own sake, 4-11 that year. You know, obviously not what you're hoping for. Drafted players. Goodness gracious, they had so many draft picks this year. It was insane. I guess that's what happens when you're that bad. But yeah, so Mike Shula was drafted. Reggie Taylor. I mean, yeah, but obviously you're gonna crown that with that Vinny Testaverde pick. You know, now knowing your criteria and your thoughts, I can think of a few more that I think are going to be mentioned in yours because of the Bucks. But I will say this. And this is kind of off of that. I am a huge fan of the creamsicle uniform, of the uniform back in the day. I love it. I think they should do that. I think they should definitely embrace the orange, not the pewter and all that junk. But so yeah, man, good way to start your.
They do it every year. They bring it back once.
They have the throwback. I know. I'm just saying, as like the uniform, there should be a little bit more emphasis for me. That's just me.
I want to jump in and look at it a different way. You kind of went with who they drafted, but I mean, number 10, Pittsburgh Steelers took Rod Woodson. That's a fantastic pick. I mean, at the 10 spot. But Jim Harbaugh was the next quarterback taken by the Bears at 26, right? But Christian Okoye was drafted in this same season at 35. And that's one reason I'm the Chiefs fan. If they would have took Okoye, I may be a Bucks fan. But but Cornelius Bennett at number 2 and Alonzo Highsmith, those are probably the 2 highest rated guys that I see there. That's a great. Let me just also add to this. Vinny Testaverde, when I was a kid, I love that guy. I mean, he was never the, Peyton Mannings of the world, but he definitely had a successful career. He was, I mean, when you look at him, not probably Hall of Famer, but I mean, if I'm Vinny Testaverde and my kids look up and go like, Dad, what did you do? I was like, dude, I played in the NFL for X amount of years and I did well. There were several times he had great games. I remember for a while with the Jets, I mean, 400, 500 yards. I mean, he was a slinger, but it never worked out, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I always kept him on my Madden team as a backup.
Oh, Vinny and the Jets. All right.
That's what you think. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, Andrew, you're up, man. What were you thinking?
All right. So similar to PJ's thought, these 4, my top 4 are all what ifs that impacted me as a person because there is a direct tie-in to the New Orleans Saints. Who dat? I could think of a ton. I could probably do 4 and some Benjamins because much like the Bucks, when you look at an overall, now as of late, there's been, they've been better, right? And for your Bucks, having Brady and getting that other Super Bowl, like there's years, but as a fan of it, those years that were not so good, and those things that did not happen the way you wanted them to. And so these all kind of have a tie-in, one for the good, and a couple, we'll talk about those later. So these all really kind of tie into the Saints a little bit. Now, my first one, my Rosie, this one has multiple implications for multiple different teams, what this has done for football. And this, to me, could potentially be the number one what if, based on the damage and benefits it's caused for other teams. So I'm talking about in 2006, Nick Saban was the coach of the Dolphins, and he picked Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees. That's my Rosie. So here's what happened. Okay. They passed because of Brees' injury to his shoulder. They lowballed him on the offer. He felt like he was more wanted in New Orleans. From a New Orleans Saints standpoint, the rest is history, right? We talk about Super Bowl. We talk about, shoe-in Hall of Fame once he's eligible, this career. He had a pretty good career in San Diego too, right? Like he was coming off a decent year. Had a good squad there and everything. But now you talk about Saban coming over from LSU to coach in the pros with the Dolphins. Got to make this pick. I think they were 9-7 the year before, so not terrible, but they needed to improve a little bit. And quarterback was one of those spots. And instead, they went with that. Now, here's the what if side of things. So had they taken Drew Brees has this career potentially in Miami. Now, what happens to New Orleans? New Orleans is facing Katrina during this time. New Orleans may not be in New Orleans anymore. They may be the San Antonio Saints at that point, because that was a real topic of conversation. Then, does Nick Saban go to Alabama?
Alabama!
Does he go there, or does he have the success? What happens so we're talking 3 franchises between college and pro that this has lasting impacts for. We could talk about it all day, but I just feel like there are so many teams that are impacted by this decision and poor decision on Saban's part that this has to be talked about in the what ifs.
Absolutely. The one thing I think you missed was that the potential that the Saints then get Dante Culpepper.
Right. Exactly. Right? Yeah.
Right. So Brees goes there, Culpepper goes there. Does Peyton show up and agree to a Dante Culpepper situation? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So if we don't take Culpepper, who do we take? What does the franchise look like? I mean, we just left Ditka. Where's that even lie? Do we select Reggie Bush? Do we move right along with what ended up happening, which fell into 2011? So it took them a while, but I mean, everything just kind of fell in place with that pick. So I agree. That's a great one. PJ, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I almost kind of forgot that Culpepper was even with the Dolphins. It was like it was a flash in the pan. And
yeah, it was it was a cup of coffee, a couple cups coffee, but he was riddled with injuries, Yeah. He was riddled with injuries. So that is a big deal. But this is a great pick, man, because I had it on my list, and I'm still going to keep it on my list. And let me reset the timer here, but I'm not Rushmore with you. I'm going to give you a different spin on it. My criteria is just that. It's my favorite teams, my favorite players, my favorite people, and my time frame. Let's jump into my first one. Here we go. My thing is this. What if Nick Saban never went to the Dolphins?
No.
You're going to go all the way back before that. What happens if Nick Saban never shows up and goes to the Dolphins and he stays at LSU? Now, with that being said, we're even more changing the landscape. Maybe Drew Brees decides to then go to the Dolphins. Maybe Culpepper goes to the Dolphins and Drew Brees goes wherever. Maybe Sean Payton goes to the Dolphins. Maybe all kinds of other things happen, and LSU is sitting with Saban for a couple more years. So that means Les Miles is not in. That means, which we won with Les Miles. I'm pretty sure we would have won with Saban again and more. So the landscape of that for my Rosie starts all the way back And if Saban never even goes. Now, look, Saban showed up his first season, he won like 9 games. The second season, he wins 6 games and gives it up. What? I mean, gives it up. I mean, he had a successful career. It just wasn't what he expected. And he decides to jump on over back to Alabama. Alabama! Which is who gives him a great deal. So all of those same things you said, but just even a little further back. What if Saban never takes the jump to the NFL? And does he take a jump later to another team? Because he hadn't done that one, and then he still gets the itch. He's never gone again because he realized what he's got. That's where I'm going.
Absolutely. And then you talk about the change for Alabama, what happens to that college and just everything that's come of that. I mean, how many national championships and things this is butterfly effect. This is the dominoes. This one small thing changes everything. So I think, we're in a sort of way Rushmore in here, but you are emphasizing a little bit more the college side of things. So great pick, man. I love it.
All right. So that's our Rosie. Man, this is already heated. And I forgot the timer already because I was resetting. But hey, let's jump into our TJ Jazzy Jeff. Timer's already set for you, PJ. So let's go.
Right.
TJ Jazzy Jeff.
TJ Jazzy Jeff. We're going to go to the reason that the Bucs drafted Vinny Testaverde in 1987. And that was the supplemental draft of 1984 when they drafted Steve Young from the LA Express. Steve Young played for the Buccaneers for 2 seasons. He started in 1985, played in 85 and 86. By 87, he was traded to the San Francisco 49ers for 2 draft picks. Those draft picks being 2 of the multiple picks that you mentioned when the same year they drafted Testaverde, one being a lineman, one being a receiver, who both went off to very minimal success in the NFL. But what if Steve Young had some success in Tampa and he had some of those Hall of Fame caliber years and championship years that he had in San Francisco with Tampa Bay? Would we still be talking about the same Tampa Bay Buccaneers today? The losing, paper bag Tampa Bay Bucs.
Looking at that supplemental draft, I love picking that up because you know who the number 4 pick was in that supplemental draft? Reggie White to the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Played for the Memphis Showboats. Dude, that is interesting. Yeah, because you say Steve Young, and immediately your brain, unless you're just a Tampa Bay guy, is a 49er. I mean, that's where your brain, that's what you think of. And man, this is a great pick. This is the other one that I thought you were going to go to when I mentioned it earlier. So
look, core memory unlocked. We had Ohio on the show 3 weeks ago. And I remember taking a walk back into our very old mall back then before Katrina and all the other things. And we went in the mall and there was a Hibbett's or a Foot Locker, and they used to have jerseys all around the top. And he bought a Tampa Bay Steve Young jersey, creamsicle, back in the day. I was with him and I was like, bro, you're going to spend like $250 on that? I'm like, come on. And he was like, dude, all day, I got to have it. And so he used to wear it all the time. I wonder if he still has it. Ohio, if you're watching, I need to know if you still have it. So yeah, that's a cool thing. But Steve Young, yeah, man, Steve Young is a part of one of the greatest runs in NFL history between Montana and Young and the duo with Rice and all those guys. Marcus Allen's and all that. Dude, that was just a phenomenal team. And I hated the Niners back then. God, I hated the Niners. I love Steve Young, by the way, as a commentator. He's one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
So, Andy, where you going number 2?
Every one of the picks from here on out just bring about pain. It's just pain. It's all this is about. Here's the pain, man. My TJ Jazzy Jeff. What if the Saints tackled Marshawn Lynch? What if Beast Quick never happened? What if Because here's the thing: not only did we lose the game, okay? I mean, obviously, yes, we lost the game. It's in the playoffs. We're playing against a team who was what 6-9. I mean, they're below 500. They shouldn't be in there. There was the controversy of why do you let them, because the NFC West was so weak, they won the West somehow at, well, 7-9, whatever they were, and they got to host against the Saints, who were coming off of a Super Bowl victory, who were just as strong as they were, probably even stronger than they were the year before. They were some people's favorites to win that, and we lose, and the momentum of that Seattle game completely, when that run happens, obviously the beastquake, the registered earthquake happens. But here's what happens. Again, we talk about, okay, so had we won that game, we go on to play Chicago in the NFC, as we go further. We go in and we've got a potential. Now, again, thinking hypothetically, let's say that we win that game. We have the chance to go on and win 2 Super Bowls, a back-to-back Super Bowl. Can you imagine? What does that do for the GOAT status? What does that do when we're talking Breeze versus Brady? Now, again, that doesn't give Breeze 7 championships. I get it. I get that. But it does put him in the club of, now you don't just have one, right? Plus you add the stats and just all those other things that get brought in. What does it do for that? What does it do for the conversation of Breeze? Breeze is still going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. He is going to. He just is.
Absolutely.
He's not going to be the GOAT, that people say. But listen, you're a top 10 quarterback all time. That's an elite club, right? So, but I just think, man, it hurt so much. Watching this game hurt. So what if we actually tackled Lynch and we won that game?
First off, let's talk about the lore of Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
The Skittles and all the things that happened there. what a polarizing guy, right? But I hate Seattle. I hate them. I mean, like that whole 12th man stuff. Like, I never hated them that much until around this, and they were consistently a thorn in the NFC side. And I really did like Russell Wilson. I didn't hate him that much, but everything, like the Legion of Boom and the fact that Jimmy Graham went there, Marshawn Lynch, Golden Tate. I mean, there were just some players there that I was just like, ugh, I don't like these guys. And listen to that was heart-wrenching. But what you said, the what-if portion, I think Drew Brees really, really comes alive and does something for us. That was a very unfortunate game. And I mean, we played lax. We're the 6, and it is what it is. The spark in the pan.
Yeah, they literally had Matt Hasselbeck at quarterback. I mean, that was Matt Hasselbeck's Seattle Seahawks.
I think that was his last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so. And then, but to say Marshawn.
And then they signed Matt Flynn,
right,
and ended up getting
Russell Wilson. But we forget Marshawn Lynch was traded to the Seahawks that season, mid-season. He was struggling in Buffalo. That year, he got traded to Seattle, then comes on Beastquake, resurgence of a career, and great for him. Sucks to be a Saints fan at that point.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. Let's go. My TJ Jazzy Jeff, finish off the first half of the mountain, may be the GOAT of what-ifs. In my opinion, it's probably the GOAT. It's not my GOAT because I don't like the guy. But what if Drew Bledsoe never gets hurt? They were having a phenomenal season back then, and he goes on to even win it, or maybe not even win it, just get to the Super Bowl. And Tom Brady's sitting the bench that year, probably the next year. Maybe doesn't get on there. And you know what happens when some of these guys kind of sit and they're kind of behind. There's so many great quarterbacks out there. Does he find another team like a Garoppolo, or does he find another team like, what was it, Matt Schaub, finally moving on to their team after being a backup, and then nothing. He gets the show in a perfect time. kind of does what Frank Reich did, but better, and then becomes GOAT status. I mean, like, he flies up the roof. He changes the whole landscape of the NFL because of one injury. And then they end up trading Drew Bledsoe to the Bills, right? Maybe, listen to this, what if Brady was traded to the Bills, a part of that? So it's kind of crazy to think, what if he would have never got hurt?
Well, here's the thing. The ripple effect that happens that because not only – so you have the GOAT may not happen in that sense. The perfect season that was ruined, I'm probably digging into people's other things, but like these things don't happen. 28-3 doesn't happen. Like so many things.
The ball don't get deflated.
What happens with her? Does Gronk become Gronk? Like,
does he get married to Gabrielle Bunchen? I mean, does that happen still? I mean,
I don't. My team doesn't get their second Super Bowl.
Right.
Tampa Bay doesn't probably get their second Super Bowl.
The Saints don't dominate them in the regular season to where he throws tackles on the ground.
Here's the thing. If they don't win all those, but look, watch this. That's another thing. If they don't win all those, the Steelers probably do.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, the Steelers probably win a few more.
What is Eli Manning's career? Because he made the career off of beating Tom Brady. What happens there? What's
twice?
Nick Foles. Yeah. I mean, what?
A lot of things happen with that one injury. Yeah. So
that's big.
That's my pick.
Great one. Man.
All right, man. So first half of the mountain is done. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fun topic, but don't go anywhere. What if you stayed to the second half and seen who our George was right after this commercial?
And there is the Texas tickler, Lance Big Tex Armstrong, undefeated.
Close play, and he happened to be perfect there. That's exactly what Andre Agassi demonstrated. Quick, barehanded grab, no bobble at all, and just connects with Ballard to get win at first base. He has been...
She'll be going for a Yurchenko half-on, piped front half off. It's one of the most difficult vaults.
And a good look to Urlacher, sitting next to Michael Vick. Not a bad 1-2 punch.
Randy Johnson builds toward the most major moment in his PBA.
Just so powerful. It's Sir Williams. Beautiful landing.
Armstrong attacking. Meet Mr. Urlacher.
The last time it happened, the Weber Fountain Bowl.
World, say hello to bowling. Roughing and obviously not happy about it.
On fire. The pitch on the way. Andre slices one left for the first third hit of the
ball. Armstrong with the quick hands. Left, right, thanks for coming. Good job, Armstrong. Good job.
Vic walks in. Vic shoots and scores.
Slamming it down.
Unbelievable breakaway speed.
What a great moment. The big check for the big unit.
Another win for Will.
And the Fenway Park.
Lance Armstrong. Can you believe it? This guy can do anything.
Welcome back to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Guys, if you're still hanging around here, it is time to be a part of the Summit Squad. And if you're a part of the Summit Squad, then you get to be a part of Culture Box. And Culture Box is one of our favorite groups of people where we hang out with other podcasters and creators that have the same vision and the same mindset as us. Andy, tell our listeners today about who we're spotlighting.
Our spotlight today is on our friends Playing Games with Strangers. Playing Games with Strangers is a family-friendly actual play podcast where indie voice actors get together and play tabletop role-playing games. You can listen to the adventure unfold as they roll dice, slay monsters, and have fun, all at playinggameswithstrangers.com. Go check them out. Give them some support. If you're an RPG fan, look, this is for you. It's going to be a blast.
Tell them where you found them. Tell them they got here from the Rushmore. And, man, Andy, I think it's time for us to start the second half of our mountain. PJ, it is time for your link. Who are you going with?
All right. So here's one this is one that's affected everybody in the NFL. My link is called the Bert Emanuel rule. In 1999, in the 1999 NFC Championship game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were playing the St. Louis Rams. Bert Emanuel was tossed a pass by Sean King, rookie quarterback Sean King, and he had both hands on it and full control of the ball, and the ball touched the ground. Didn't bobble the ball, didn't lose the ball, the ball did not move. He had it secure grip in his hand, but he touched the ground with it as he went down. The referee reviewed it, called it an incomplete pass. The Buccaneers went on for two more incompletions, turned the ball over on downs. St. Louis Rams won and went to the Super Bowl. The following year, 2000, the Bert Emanuel rule was put into effect, saying that the ground could not cause the ball to be called incomplete.
So
You're welcome.
I'm uncomfortable swine with this, but what this brings to memory is the Dez Bryant, Dez caught it situation, which we've always been confused. What is a catch? What constitutes a catch? Well, a catch in the field of play is different than a catch in the end zone, right? And a catch at a certain point of the game may be different than, like, what is a catch? And we've struggled with that, and it appears
what I find funny about this whole thing, we all know what a catch is.
No, absolutely.
We all know what a catch is, but I am positive that the announcers of the NFL do not. Positive. But yeah, this I vaguely remember this because of Sean King. I was a big Sean King fan. Tulane guy, just really, really loved that dude, and I remember that kind of being a big deal. But then the Rams move on and became the greatest show on turf. I mean, they already were starting that at that point.
Right.
But what is a catch? What is a catch? That's a great one. I would have never picked this one. That's digging deep in your fandom. I love it.
And part of this is the benefits versus the cons of instant replay, right? If we slow down a play to the microscopic, can we say that it wasn't a catch for some things? If we zoom in, so much and slow it down so much and play it in reverse and find 19 different angles at it, maybe. But it's a catch. Let's be honest. Like, in the game anyway. So it's ridiculous.
With this one, this is the only one I picked. It's an actual play that actually happened. The rest are all like front office moves, personnel moves, stuff like that. Because, we could sit there and argue one play all day long. Truth is, if you would have played better the rest of the game, you wouldn't have to worry about that one play. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's the hard part. But as a fan, you look at that one play as like, that's the one play. Like, that's it. Well, no, you played horrible the rest of the game. So, I mean, technically, it was the one play. But if you would have played better earlier, that's the hard part for me.
I'm watching the replay of the play, and Dungy kind of explaining it from like Fox Films or NFL Films. I remember watching that NFL Films with Dungy. And now it's all like bringing it back. But dude, that's a great pick, man. So many what ifs out there. This is what the Rushmore show is all about, because we all have different, and that's how it's going to be, which I'm shocked that we haven't had that many crushes yet, but I'm sure they're coming.
Sort of kind of backhanded crushes, but
yeah, kind of. Andy.
All right. This is where Crushmore start to happen, I believe. If they don't, maybe it's because you're going a different route potentially, but we have a personal tie-in to this one, me and you, and we've talked about it on the show before. But my link, what if Marcus Williams makes the tackle on Stephon Diggs and the Minneapolis Miracle doesn't happen? What if that happens? Yes. At that point of the game is over, right? It just is. We tackle him, it's done. Here's the thing. It's the NFC divisional round versus the Vikings. Had we won, had we made the tackle, had Marcus made the tackle, and look, no hate on Marcus Williams. I thought he was a great player when he was with the Saints. Unfortunately, this play is going to go with him. It's just going to go with his career. It just is what it is. Yeah. But we would have gone on to play Philadelphia in the next round and potentially had a Breeze Brady Super Bowl. that everyone has always wanted. This is what happens here. If this doesn't happen, or if the Saints do and they beat Philly, then do we have this whole Nick Foles story of beating Brady? Do we have the Philly special? Does Philly have to wind up going for Jalen Hurts? I mean, like, so many things happen, and we see where we're at currently, right? And again, pairing this up with my previous, my TJ Jazzy Jeff, this potentially leads to Super Bowl number 3. So you're talking Breeze going to get 3 Lombardis under his, Saints going to get, it's the what ifs, it's all this. But this hurt. This was very much, and we've shared this before, Kirk was actually at my house for this game. Everyone's asleep in the house. That play happens, and we don't say a word to each other. Kirk just stands up. We're in disbelief for probably a good minute or two. No talking. And Kirk just leaves. He doesn't say bye. Like, I didn't expect goodbye. It was just, that was it. The night's over. Go home. And this was gut-wrenching, right? Because here's the thing. If you don't remember, the game was a pretty good game. It was back and forth, but late in the fourth and really the third, the Saints just were coming back. I mean, momentum was 1,000% on the Saints side. There was no way. I'd like to look at the odds of their winning, and at that point they were probably 99% favored to win, because it's literally the last play. The game's over. Because if you remember too, afterwards there was the whole controversy of they have to come out for a extra point, right? The game was over. It didn't matter if they kicked the field goal, if they went for 2 and missed it. It didn't matter if anything happened. They had to do that. They wound up bringing back a few players on the field to do the point after, to make it official. It was just a mess, man. So what if Marcus Williams makes a form tackle? Stephon Diggs. Where does Stephon Diggs wind up? Is he still in Minnesota? Is he in Buffalo? Is he regarded as one of those top guys? Who knows? So many what ifs tied into this one.
Yeah. I have to say I agree. I'll just leave it at that. But I will say that the whole idea of Minnesota and Stephon Diggs, that guy has now made a phenomenal run with the Bills, and he's made who he is basically from that play. He doesn't make that play, I don't know that he gets the big contract. They're not even looking. He became just another level of a guy right there. I hated this play. I hate this play more than anything, and it just really makes me upset just even thinking about it. But yeah,
I know you probably enjoyed this play, PJ. You were a fan. No,
I didn't. My wife was a Saints fan, for the most part, for a long time. So we watched that game, and we were both screaming at the TV, like, "How do you miss that?" Like, It's just horrible. There, and I'm sure y'all are going to mention it, or somebody's going to mention it, but there's only one other play that made my blood boil more than this one, and
right.
I'm almost positive that one's coming up.
It's probably my George, because I know.
Probably. But it was. I couldn't believe it. We turned the TV off, I think, at that point. There might have been another game on after that. I didn't really care. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with football today.
Yeah,
I'm done footballing today. Dude, it was so funny. No, I literally, I there hasn't been that many moments like this in my life where I just kind of just stand up and I'm just like, gosh, I mean, what are we doing? Like, I'm out of here. I guess I'll talk to you tomorrow type thing. I'm going to go to my link. Now, I love your pick. I love where you're going, but I'm going to go with one that is super dear to me. I mentioned this a couple weeks back. I mentioned it, but I kind of thought maybe because of our guest, you might mention this, but I'm going to talk about the enigma of Bo Jackson. So what if he actually goes to Tampa Bay and accepts the deal to go there as opposed to going to the Raiders? Because at the Raiders, he never may have gotten the infamous tackle that took him out with a hip dislocation. This is a guy that I'm talking about as an all-star and a Pro Bowler at the same time. So if you remember, his very first time being drafted was by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he decided to forego that and move back into the draft and continue to play other things. But would he have avoided being injured, and would he be what I would consider the greatest athlete that we've ever seen and becoming not only just a Pro Bowler and an All-Star, but a perennial at that, and a Hall of Famer of both? Now that is something I would like to talk about. And he may have done that with Tampa Bay, with the likes of somebody like Steve Young. That would have been phenomenal. I thought that might be where you're going earlier. So I'm going to jump into it and take it now, because it is one of the top 3 that I had that I wanted to play around with. And Andy, since you took that last one, I'm going to move on and get this one.
That's a stinger. That is a stinger for the Bucs. I didn't. Again, this is before my time, so this is kind of news, and I mean, not news, but like it never really kind of go into the Bo Jackson side of things because it was before that. But this hurts. And to bring another Bo Jackson, what if this has nothing to do with football? What if the 1994-1995 baseball season was not cut short? Because you realize, what team was last for? The California Angels. He was on the Angels roster. Bo Jackson would have been an Angel, but the season was cut short because of the strike. That's a what if. We're multiversing it here, but yeah,
there's so many what ifs around Bo Jackson, dude. So many what ifs.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah,
and I was gonna say, what if he didn't ever get the injury? But if you go back even further, kind of like the Saban thing, because of our guest, that's kind of why I was thinking about where I want to go. What if he was actually accepted the Tampa Bay position? So what do you think about that, Mr. Pastor Peter?
You might as well reset that timer, because I'm Rushmore on you right now. Because that is my George. Yes. That is my number 1. That is the crowning, disappointing what if moment for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their history. There's been so many of them, but that one right there, 1986, the 1986 NFL draft. Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the number 1 pick. They said, "We want to draft you." He said, "I don't want to come there." They rolled out the red carpet. They brought him there for a visit. They treated him like a king. Everything you could think of coming out of Auburn, right there, right down the road to Tampa. And he said, "Nope," because I believe it was the Kansas City Royals have offered me to play baseball.
Yes.
So I'm going to sign that draft tender, and I'm going to go play baseball and re-enter the draft next year and try my chances again. Very bitter moment for many Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans, lifelong Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Potentially, like you said, one of the greatest if he hadn't gotten injured.
Think about this. Not only did he sign with Tampa Bay, but then he goes to the Raiders.
The Raiders!
Yeah. And what is the history with the Raiders in Tampa Bay? Like, what has got, like, this crazy to me how much Raiders Tampa Bay business has happened.
The Raiders, you could, if you're a Raiders fan, you could what if the 2003 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
John Gruden left the Raiders, went to the Bucs, and finished it and beat his own team with the Bucs. So there's a lot of history. Bucs, Raiders, they're all Pirates.
And he decides to go back to the Raiders and wet the bed. I mean,
hey, maybe we got him back. Maybe that was our payback. You talk about like the multiverse, like baseball, the curse of the Babe Ruth curse, the curse of the Bambino. Well, maybe we had the curse of the Bo Jackson and we broke it by winning that Super Bowl. But hey, if you believe in that kind of thing. But yeah, Bo Jackson, I've never.
The 86 draft was not a very good draft. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm like, who are these people? There's a few sprinkled in and out, but it's like, overall, what happened outside of Bo Jackson? And Doug Williams goes in the second round. I mean, yeah, like it's
but that's like a franchise killer, though.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Not only did they draft him and not want to come, but they don't get to redo their first pick of the draft. They don't. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to try again? Let's all start over. You lose that pick, and he walked, and it's just crazy. That's just that's nuts. So, all right. Well, Andy, since we're already in the George, where are you going?
It is no surprise what my George is. It's if anybody's a Saints fan, this is their George of what ifs. What if pass interference was called against the Rams? What if Nicole Roby-Coleman gets this blatant call called against him? Here's the thing. I mentioned in my link that this was a disappointing play. The one thing that it always has for me going for it is it happened on the football field. Somebody made a great play. Somebody made it. Those things happen. I mean, it sucks as a Saints fan, but at least it was clean play and he just whiffed on a tackle. This was a blatant. There is not a single soul in the world that would say that's not pass interference other than Rams fans. And even most Rams fans, Ezra, will admit that was PI. The fact that refereeing ruins a game, it's over. And it's at the stakes of the game. It's the NFC Championship game. We are minutes away from a sure victory in this game. You could say, well, they still had time after. No. Here's what happened. We had to wind up kicking the field goal instead of going up 7. We could have run the clock. Things could have happened here. Again, when we're talking what ifs, we've gone up 7, maybe run out the clock, gone into the Super Bowl. Instead, we kick a field goal. They kick a field goal. We go to overtime. The Rams beat the Saints in overtime. Here's the problem with it. Not only was it a officiating error, which is not a football play, it's just a lack of an obvious call that needs to be made. When you see the picture of the ref staring at it, yet still not making the call, then we would have gone on to the Super Bowl, and who would we have faced? We'll maybe talk about it in your George or maybe even in a Benjamin. But if it would have played out the way it's continued to play out, played Brady in another Super Bowl, they were not good that year. The Super Bowl was 13-3. The Saints win that game against the Patriots. We're talking Super Bowl number 4. Super Bowl number 4 here, right? Because if you've got the Seattle year, you've got the Vikings year, and you've got this one plus the one that we earned 4 Super Bowls, you can't tell me that Drew Brees is not considered the number 2 potentially. Now, beating Brady potentially twice, he could be the GOAT. There are so many things tied into this, and I know I'm taking the whole 3 minutes because I'm heated up about it still. It is the absolute worst no call in the history of the game. It is a shame. It is a black eye on the NFL. It was just horrible. But then it also brought up a 1-year change of where you could challenge defensive PI. They took that away after a year because of how it bogged down everything. But, man, so many things tied to this no call that it just disgusts me to this day. What if they did their job and called pass interference?
Yeah, well, look, the time just ended. So
I know. I'm sorry. I just
let me just hold on a second. Let me reset our timer and just keep going. But but I'm not going to crush more completely because I've mentioned this before, and this is my number 1 most irritated what if in the history of sports for me. 2019 we're talking about 2019, about a week before this AFC NFC championship weekend. I had kidney surgery. I'm sitting on the recliner and I watch the NOLA no call happen, and then 3 hours later, it is the same thing. We are ending another game in the AFC side, and Tom Brady is down. He is down. He's down 31-24, I believe, at that point. 31-24. Patrick Mahomes is in his very first run to go to the AFC Championship, and he gets a chance, Brady, to go all the way down. And we have him on 4th down and hold him on a play, and D Ford, it lined up off sides and didn't even impact the play, but it lines up off sides. Penalty flags fly. Brady gets another set of 4 downs, marches down, ties the game, and goes on in overtime to win the game, keeping Mahomes out of his first Super Bowl, which Mahomes goes and wins the next Super Bowl and goes to the next Super Bowl and wins the next Super Bowl. So, with that being said, in that weekend, we had 2019 AFC and NFC championships, my 2 favorite teams. What if in Atlanta, I find a way to sneak into the greatest game ever happening, the Kansas City Chiefs against the New Orleans Saints on Atlanta's turf to go for the trophy with my 2 favorite players of all time. I'm Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes leading the charge. What if? There is not a bigger what if for me. I half Rushmore'd it because it's definitely a crush, but I remember when it happened, I jump out my recliner and my wife almost had a heart attack. I'm a week post-op with just giving away my kidney. And my wife is like, "Are you kidding me? Sit down." And I was so mad at everything that happened within about 3 hours.
That was a bummer weekend. So, PJ, I'd like to I know we didn't give you any time in our picks, but is this the play that disgusts you that we were talking about before?
Yeah, the Nola no call is the play that disgusts me. That absolutely ridiculous. I just you hate to see, like you said, you hate to see officiating ruin a game.
Oh.
You know, that was worse than the previous no call because it set a precedent. It set a precedent for all kinds of ridiculousness in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, there's people who played the game, who know the game, that said that was a no call. It was just those couple officials that were like, they even said after the game, "Yeah, we blew it. We know we blew it." Like it was
Wait, here's a side note. This is a fun little what if. What if the Supreme Court would have actually allowed us to sue and get that thing redone?
That was a talk. Yeah, that was crazy,
bro.
It was the absolute worst. And it's just been a string of things that have worked against the Saints.
I can tell you what the answer to the what if is. Of all these what ifs, if all those things happen, Tom Brady is not anybody's pick for the good. That's the answer.
Yeah. It's just
but look, what a fun show. What a fun show. And it's time for some Benjamins. I think Benjamins are going to be really hard this time. I am reeling back because you guys are kind of stealing some in my area, which means you're going to fall into some of the other places I want to go. But this is our time for All About the Benjamins. One last go around to see what missed our mountain. Let's get it. All right, welcome back to the Rushmore Show. It's time for our honorable mentions. You guys have been around long enough. You know how this happens. We're fantasy drafting it. It's football season, so why not? And the winner of our first pick of the draft is PJ, and also he gets Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going on the bookend with him. I get double picks twice, and Andy gets the middle pick. So let's go. PJ, what is our lightning round, our Rushmore, if you will, of Benjamins? Let's go.
What if Michael Vick never gets arrested for dogfighting? He finishes his career
with the Falcons.
And wherever, just he finishes his career as an elite player, never spends that time in prison, never leaves. What if he stays?
Oh, good pick.
Very good pick. Very good.
I'm going to go with, because one of the big what ifs is always like injury what ifs, and what if this guy was never really injured? I was so high on this quarterback. I drafted him as a rookie in fantasy football. I shared in the 1 year wonder. This was my picks. What if RG3 was never hurt? That dude could have been one of the most special quarterbacks that we've ever seen. So
that's
what if
the man right there?
Come on. I appreciate you letting this stellar pick fall into my lap. Thank you, because RG3 is a good pick. And Michael Vick wasn't even on my radar, and I love it for all my Falcon fans. I like a little dig at them. But hey, I got one. What if John Elway does not go to the Broncos and he takes the Colts pick? And he goes to play with the Colts. The rollout from that is Peyton Manning somewhere else. All kinds of things happening. Andrew Luck. But what a phenomenal idea to think if he goes to the Colts. Does he win too? I don't know. Here's my other pick. On the same note, what if Eli Manning decides to go to the Chargers and Phillip Rivers is at the Giants? Do the Giants win too? Do they beat Brady? Do the Chargers take over in the AFC and even keep Brady from getting some? What a fun idea. Another two, just like Bo Jackson, that decided to avoid their draft pick and make moves, like make somebody make a move. Those two are phenomenal to me to think about. Andy, you're up.
All right, so I'm going to save one because I want to pull up a little stat on that. So hopefully it falls back to me, but I've only got a couple picks before that. What if, and this is unfortunate because I like the way that it happened, but what if there was no David Tyree helmet catch? What if the Patriots go 19-0? Or what if this perfect season actually happens? Think about all of the, it's already an amazing Brady. But this, what else does he have to prove after going 19-0? I don't know. So many different things could happen, and we would be deprived of one of the greatest catches of all time.
So what if Barry Sanders doesn't retire early? Man, they just unveiled that statue this week. Have y'all seen it?
Yeah, I haven't seen the statue, but I heard about it.
It's like, man, they need to replace the Heisman Trophy with the Barry Sanders Trophy. I'm just saying. That, and then another what if. What if the Bears selected Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson over Mitchell Trubisky?
Very, very good. Now look, this is one of my last Benjamins that was coming down the road, but I will share this. I don't know that Patrick is as good in that offense, and I don't know that the Chiefs actually pick a quarterback because they weren't high on Trubisky or Watson. Maybe Watson's at the Chiefs, and you know what happened there. So,
right,
you took one of mine coming up, but that's a great pick.
Yep, I love that. Here's the one I was holding on to coming back to me, because we talked about how all these what ifs that can change the GOAT status. But what if, just for fun, what if one of the teams that drafted quarterbacks above Tom Brady actually drafted him, right? So we talk about this. So here you go. Here's a couple what if scenarios. This is cheating, but he could have played for the Jets instead of Chad Pennington, which would have been interesting within the AFC East as well. Does New York return to prominence? Who knows what happens there? Could have been drafted by the 49ers. Right, Giovanni Carmazzi, that guy that we all know. He could have been drafted by the Cardinals, right? He could have been drafted by the Ravens. I mean, there's so many of these guys. Oh, also, he could have played for, a ton of these teams. Anyway, I'm just pulling the Steelers. He could have been a Steeler. Maybe he was a. You know who was drafted above him at 168? Mark Bulger to the Saints. Brady could have been a Saint. So many crazy things could have happened if he wouldn't have been drafted that low. And also, hey, the what if he never paired up with Belichick too? So, so many different what ifs. What if he got drafted by another team?
Nice. Well, I've got two stellar ones. Now, these are you're gonna have to go back a little bit in your bank, if you will. But back in the early 90s, there was a team that went to Super Bowls 4 years in a row. Mm-hmm. What happens if Scott Norwood kicks that field goal in the first one and wins the Super Bowl? Because here, let me just give you a little bit of a maybe something you didn't realize, that the team that they were playing was the Giants. The defensive coordinator of that team was Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick left them to go and take a Browns job. because they won the Super Bowl. If he don't take that Browns job, he might still be at the Giants seeking another one and maybe never ending up over at the Patriots.
Wow.
That is a what if. And here's another what if. Back in, I believe, 2002, I might be off of my year, but you can go ahead and check it. We can throw it right here or somewhere. But the San Francisco 49ers move up to draft a fantastic wide receiver named J.J. Stokes. In that draft pick, they handed off a draft pick of the next season in 2003 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers move on to draft freaking the powerhouse, Troy Polamalu, to go on and change Pittsburgh forever again with Ben Roethlisberger. Look, they don't take that pick. Maybe Polamalu shows up at the Niners? That's worth thinking about.
Yeah.
All right. I'm surprised you didn't go here. I left it out there for you. It was low-hanging fruit. We've talked about it plenty of times. What if the Saints don't trade every single pick of theirs in the 99 draft for Ricky Williams? Because here's what happened. You realize who was drafted as a result of that pick, of one of those picks, was to the Redskins, who drafted Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey comes out of that, too. So many great things happen there.
I'll just add to this.
And I was going to say,
I'm a proponent to think that the way the chips fall of us going on to get Breeze, Peyton, get rid of Ditka, pull in a Reggie Bush pick, and all of the others circling the wagons was as a result that we depleted everything and everybody just was upset about that pick. But I still am a huge Ricky Williams fan.
No, I liked him. It happened because I think even on the positive side, like you said, it actually brought us to relevance, and it brought us so low that we had to rebuild, and hence history, right? So,
yeah.
All right, final.
And last, Mr. Irrelevant, the Brock
last
Purdy
one
of the draft.
And this is a big one, but we're gonna have to go back a few years for this one. This is probably before all of us. But what if Franco Harris dropped the ball?
Ooh.
Yeah, well, here I'm going to go even more on that because this one was one that I might actually use. I know it's Benjamin's, but here, the actual catch. Again, you go back to what you're talking about with the Burt Emanuel. They didn't have instant replay like we do now, and they couldn't tell if it hit the ground. And if the ball hits the receiver, only the receiver can catch it, and they didn't know if it hit the receiver or hit the other guy, so they didn't know what to do. If it hits the receiver, that's a no catch. They don't make that, and they go on to have the dynasty, right, of the Steelers. That's a great pick. Well, look, that's been our show, and man, what a great and fun show it was. Man, I'm excited. Everybody, go out and check out the Reformationist podcast with PJ. Both Andy and myself will be on. Hopefully, we're on as many times as he wants us. We love to be a part of that. But thank you, PJ, for being here. Thank you for bringing your insight. It was a fun time and a blast. But Andy, we've got some things that are still coming up. What we got going on, Bob?
Well, we're ending out NFL month. We're starting next month talking all about TV, man. We love October is all about TV and shows and just binge watching and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's going to be coming up. But also in October, what's happening is we are going to the St. Tammany Collectors Con. You should come out. It's in Mandeville. Come hang out with us. It's a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. We will have a table. We'll be kind of circulating and doing some interviews, hanging out, networking, connecting with people, just having a blast. We love that. So that's a big thing that's happening. We are coming up on almost to episode 100, Kirk.
Wow.
This is 91.
This is 91. 91.
So close to episode 100.
We're coming up on 500 subs. Guys, if you're here, help us out, man. Let's hit that 1,000 mark. Guys, if you're here right now, there's no reason not to. I mean, you don't have to hit the bell. You don't have to comment. Just go hit the sub. Check us out when you can. Be a part of the family.
I'm looking at it right now. It's so easy to do.
But hey, also, I want to share, we're going to have several friends on the podcast that are other podcasters. We're going to have a Fave 5 for fans. We're having Nerd Squish. We're having potentially a couple other guys that we met at Louisiana RetroCon. And we're going to have a blast with this TV. One of them, my George against your George. It's going to be the Goldbergs versus The Office. And that's going to be a great episode. But hey, we have to end this show and tell everybody good night and wish our football friends adieu.
This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4
and nothing more.
Peace.